I apologize if the screen is doing weird things. We're waiting for our new laptop.
I am happy to say that Brian is with us today. Brian Essenter, diplomat of medical cannabinoid science. Brian is a pharmacist and cannabis pharmacist in the Connecticut medical marijuana program since 2015, and has come to talk to us today about medical cannabis versus adult use, and what we need to know. And certainly if there's more of an introduction and a background that you could give us about yourself and what you do, we would love it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Let me just stay here for the.
Sure.
Okay. So how's it going, guys? My name is Brian Essenter. I'm a pharmacist. I went to Northeastern University in Boston and worked in retail for about 16 years for Walgreens before I got pretty burnt out and sick of the rat race that you can see exists in retail pharmacy at this point. And was fortunate enough to find medical cannabis, where I really have been able to have a direct impact on patients' outcomes, quality of life, you know, and their overall healthcare, their prescription medications. And it really just kind of renewed my passion for healthcare and really having that patient impact on everything. Since then, I've actually expanded to opening my own business, because one of the things that I found in the program is one of the big limitations is it's about a $200 fee to see a doctor plus another $100 to the state before you even find out if medical cannabis is appropriate for you. So, you know, that really is very much a barrier for a lot of people. Now with the adult use program, they don't have that barrier. They can kind of try some of the products and everything too. But what I found is patients have a lot of questions before they get to the dispensary. So they really want to talk to somebody who has an idea of what they're doing. Most of your healthcare professionals really don't, and not because they don't, you know, it's just because they've never been taught. It's not taught in schools or anything like that. So it's very difficult for them to have a conversation with their healthcare clinicians. So in the meantime, I've been managing dispensaries all across Connecticut. I'm working with a company that just won a food and beverage license as well in the cannabis program. So we're looking at putting that together. So really been involved in a lot, but you know, the patient focused side, the education side has really been, you know, my lane where I've really kind of felt is the most need out there. And the education specifically, just making sure that everybody knows what these products are, how they're used, what type of effects to expect. Because, you know, your patients, your friends, your family, everybody has questions and kind of wants to know. So, you know, the program has changed immensely from the very beginning when we started, and, you know, it was mostly just flower and some vapes and, you know, a couple of tinctures here and there. They've grown to have a lot more minor cannabinoids. So, you know, not just THC and CBD, but things like CBN and CBG, THCA as well, that have a lot of benefits too, that are very medicinal, that are not typically, I haven't quite got there yet, but that's okay. But yeah, no, you can, if you want to start it.
Yeah, hold up there, right?
Yep. This actually kind of leads me right into that anyway, but, so what we've seen with the medical program over the last couple of months now with the launch of adult use has really been some unfortunate changes. A lot of the producers have really sort of concentrated on the adult use side of things, and they call it, you know, hybrid products that are available to both. And there's a lot of products that, because they've been so concerned with the adult use side, have disappeared from the medical side for the time being. So it's been a little bit interesting and everything, but so far so right now the medical program, we were about a year ago up at about 55,000 patients in the medical program. With the anticipation of adult use and now the launch of adult use, we've dropped down to about 48,000 patients in the program. And it's been hovering right about there. We haven't really seen much of an uptick. And you can see the number of registering physicians is about 1,660 or so. That number has been holding pretty steady as well, which it's really nice to see that many of the clinicians are really starting to embrace it. But don't get it twisted, the majority of those certifications come from about 10 to 12 of those physicians that are there. The rest of them, they do certify, but it's just a couple of patients here and there. So it's, you know, you really do kind of have to know what you're looking for, because not all the doctors or nurse practitioners are okay so far. Currently in the Connecticut market, there's 10 medical or hybrid dispensaries, which are medical and recreational. And there's currently 8 that are just medical only. Not everybody has the zoning to get approval for the adult use. So some of them have been forced to stay medical. So some of them are looking to move. Some of them are working on zoning, a few different things. But at most everyone is going to probably be both adult and medical once that happens. I know in New Haven, we really tried to make sure that everything went smoothly for the patients with the rollout of adult use. And, most of the dispensaries are dedicating, 2 to 3 of their registers for the medical patients, making sure that they have, first access. They are also going to be in and out just the same as they would have before all the adult use mayhem started. There is one recreational only dispensary that opened in Manchester about 3 weeks ago. That's the only one that is adult use only at this point. And one of the big hiccups is we still only have 4 producers. They were supposed to ramp up all of their production. They did to a certain point, but there's going to be a whole bunch more coming online. So it makes sense for them to not expand too much, because with competition coming, they're not going to, shrink their footprint, but the competition is definitely going to take, business away from them. So to expand too much really doesn't make sense on a business level, but it's really hurting the patients and the adult use people, customers right now as well, because they're just seeing a lot fewer products available. So some of the benefits of being a medical patient: no taxes. Taxes are anywhere from about 20 to 26%, and it varies depending on the product and the potency. There was just articles that came out yesterday, actually, because they just released all the numbers from February as well. But one of the things that they were really noting is, of all of those taxes, you have 3% that goes to the town. You have only about I think it's like 6.25% that's going back to the state. So of all of the sales that have happened so far, they really have not gotten, all that much money in the big windfall that they necessarily thought to. But I mean, for, medical patients, that's a big deal. If you're coming back and you're purchasing products, just for instance, right now for the adult use products, they can purchase a maximum of 7 grams, but if they are purchasing 2 $50 aids, that becomes a $127 transaction all of a sudden, and those are big differences for them. So the medical patients also have access to products that are not available on the adult use side. So your tinctures, your topicals, sprays and capsules, oral syringes, all of those truly medical products, are not available on the adult use side. So we do have a lot of people that are coming in, kind of like I said, looking to try products that are not available to them, because the state has said, well, if they really need those products, they can get them from the medical side as a medical patient when they get certified. And it's really kind of, honestly, as messed up and backwards as it sounds, it's great, because it is helping to keep the medical program viable, and making sure that those patients have the access to the pharmacists and to the medication that they need without it being, all purchased by your adult use customers as well. And then there's no potency caps in the medical marijuana program as well. There are some caps in the adult use program, but that's really a big deal, especially for patients that are treating, like cancer or something along those lines, where doses need to get up in the hundreds of milligrams on a daily basis to really start to treat that. So that definitely makes a big difference as well. So as I said, what products are available to the medical patients? You have your tinctures, you have your topicals, the oral syringes, nothing's being injected. You can bake with it, make your own capsules, just put it on a cracker or, piece of bread or something. There's a lot of different ways that you can dose that, the capsules themselves as well. And like I said, it gives the patient the ability to really adjust their doses themselves, and get a higher dose if necessary. I mean, your medical doses don't have to be that high, but it depends on what you're treating and what type of symptoms you're dealing with as to what those doses need to be. And then for your adult use patients, your recreational customers, the flower products have to be less than 30% total THC. And there's actually a new math for that now that is confusing everybody too, because I mentioned THCA before. That's the raw version of cannabis. When you see it in the plant, it is non-intoxicating once it gets heated, so it's baked, burned, vaped, whatever it happens to be, is when it converts to THC and becomes intoxicating. So only about 0.87% of that converts to THC. So now they have them multiplying the THCA by 0.87. And it's honestly helping the producers because, as twisted as it sounds, it makes those percentages show up lower. So now something that was over 30% that they would not have been able to sell on the adult use market, they can now sell on the adult use market. But it is a more accurate indication for everybody as to what type of effects you're going to get, because not everything converts. The vape oil cartridges, there are no potency caps on that. There were in the original regs. They lifted them the week before this started and said that they didn't need to have potency caps anymore. Concentrates are definitely more of a recreational product, but you're talking waxes, dabs, stuff like that. Really, really potent stuff. Most of them are coming in around 80 to 90% THC. And this is the stuff that it kind of looks like crack when you're doing it. I mean, it's butane torch on a rig and everything. And it's not quite as bad as it sounds, but it's really unnecessary and just beyond indulgent. So that was one of the reasons that they wanted the concentrate so low, because I've literally seen people pass out from one hit. It's just that potent. And these people think that they've, got a tolerance that can handle anything, and it can be a lot very quickly. The edibles, so this was kind of one of the big things. Right now it's a maximum of 5 milligrams per dose and a maximum of 100 milligrams per package. As of the January 10th, when we launched, that was the first time gummies were allowed in the program. They have not been allowed at all until the launch of adult use. This was kind of a big deal. And they started allowing chocolate as well. Those are the only two edibles of any sort that are available right now on the adult use side. So it's good because, they're low dose and everything else, but just the demand for gummies boggles my mind. I mean, a capsule or a tablet, I get it's a little bit more medicinal, but you don't need the sugar, you don't need any other calories. And I'll tell you personally, if I have them sitting there, it's just too easy to just grab a gummy, and then you end up in that uh-oh moment where, you take too much and now it's just a long bumpy ride you're not prepared to be on, because you just happen to grab the wrong candy because it happened to be sitting there. I'm honestly not as concerned about the, children and such, just because, that really is up to the parents to educate them and making sure, that most of the kids, these things are packaged in, the packaging in Connecticut is completely innocuous. It's white, black letters on a white label, no colors, no pictures, no anything else. It's not something that is attractive to kids. But I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I mean, it's been as simple as, listen, if it's not your gummy in your packaging, do not touch it. And, it's okay, but you know what? It's my responsibility to make sure that that stuff's not laying around, leaving an opportunity for her or her friends or somebody else to just happen to grab one and go. But that's one of the reasons that at 5 milligrams, yeah, they might be uncomfortable for a little while, but they're not going to all of a sudden end up in the emergency room. Now they decide to take 4, 5, 6 of them. Yes, that could definitely happen. So it is something that we definitely need to be cautious of. This is something DCP was very worried about in the beginning as well. But I also just happened to see the other day that there is a new vodka infused seltzer that is Sunny D.
Yep.
So, all of the parental outrage about gummies and chocolate bars and everything else, yet it's going to be a can that just says Sunny D, and then, vodka infused seltzer on the bottom that's going to be sitting in your fridge. I loved Sunny D as a kid. You see it in a can, you grab it and you go. And you talk about parental outrage about cannabis and naming and gummies and this and that, but then you have marshmallow fluff flavored vodka and all this other stuff. Yeah, it's disgusting. I did try it once, but I mean, who is that marketed for? That's not like, not many adults are like, yes, I want the marshmallow vodka or the Sunny D, it's very much a younger crowd kind of thing. That is, so, it's very much selective outrage that we have towards a lot of this too. And, not for nothing, even if a kid does end up getting a hold of it, they're not going to die. It's just not ever happens. They might be really sick and end up in the emergency room, need some fluids, might throw up some. That's the worst of it. They're not going to die from it. So the products that are available to both the medical and the rec patients, flower and vapes are pretty much it. You know, so that's the flower is what most everybody is looking for anyway. And honestly, it's definitely decreasing in percentage of products that we're selling, but it's all reliable. People know what it is, they know how to use it, they know what to expect. So it really is that just comfort level for people when they're going to use these products. And then we have the chocolate bars and the gummies as well. The gummies, when they, as of January 1st, so just for insight in how the program works, they were not allowed at all. Before January 10th, they decided they would be allowed with no color and no flavor. And then all of a sudden decided, okay, well, you can use a flavor, but no color within those 10 days. So it's just been a bumpy rollout because of all of that. So you're seeing, you know, products come and go. You know, we get a huge batch of them, we sell out, and we're waiting for them to get more approved and everything too. And a lot of it is just because they are trying to figure out what they can even produce and what they can't produce.
Can I ask a question about the
Please.
supply chain for all this?
Yeah.
So you talked about there were 4 producers in Connecticut, and I think of those as growers, essentially.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, yep.
and then are there middle people that
No.
produce these products from the growers' product, or the growers?
Give me
expanding
2
into
minutes,
this?
I'm gonna get there and I'm gonna
Oh,
show you
okay,
exactly
okay.
what that is. Because that's the next slide after this one, actually. So this is just kind of showing everybody what the numbers have looked like so far. And in orange are your medical sales. So like I mentioned before, you have about 8 of the dispensaries that have not opened for adult use yet. There's only 11 adult use dispensaries. So that's why you're seeing a lot of the adult use sales being trailing behind the medical so far. You know, I mean, and you can see the first month in January was only January 10th through the 30th or 31st. So you're missing the first 10 days of the month there. That's why the numbers are so different. So that's why you have the full month of February and why February looks like the sales went through the roof. One of the things that has been really interesting is the sales have been very steady throughout. We've actually seen a little bit more of an increase as opposed to that early peak and then kind of a trail off. We've really seen very steady sales and a slight increase in the sales actually. And I think part of that is because the amount of product that was available in the beginning and everything too. And part of it is because they're only allowed 7 grams. So most everybody purchases the 7 grams and, you know, and goes on about their day. But, so this is kind of what you were asking about. So what's the market going to look like in a year? And as of right now, those producers make everything. They deliver everything themselves. They do it all. They package it and everything. With the adult use is coming, you're going to see the hybrid dispensaries are going to end up expanding to about 20 to 22 of them. The adult use only dispensaries, you're going to see 20 to 25 come online. So probably 45 to 50 dispensaries total. Cultivators, so, you know, your producers, your growers, stuff like that, you're going to see about 15 to 20 total. So, I mean, you know, 5x what we have right now. So kind of like I said, that's why it's not worth it for them to expand too much right now, because that competition is coming. Product manufacturers. So they are going to be able to make like vapes, pre-rolls, concentrates, all of those kind of things. Food and beverage manufacturers are going to be making chocolate bars, gummies, seltzers, you know, all of those kinds of things. And that's one of the things that I'm actually working with right now. So you're really going to see the product lines expand completely. Deliveries are going to be available, a whole other set of licensing. There's a transporter license, which brings the products from, you know, one facility to the dispensaries. And there's even packaging licenses. So, you know, if one person makes the product, somebody else packages it, somebody else delivers it. I mean, they really broke down the entire supply chain of this.
But everything has to be self-contained in Connecticut because it's a state by state.
Correct.
So we're not bringing in marijuana that was grown in Massachusetts or some other adjacent state.
Not through the legal market.
Not to, yeah.
No, you're
So
absolutely right.
that has to all be, the whole supply chain has to be within Connecticut. That's-
Yes, completely self-contained. Yep, because it's once you cross, it's because
Once you
it's
cross state
federally
lines,
illegal.
yeah,
Now that
yeah,
becomes
yeah,
a federal
yeah.
felony crossing state lines with
Yeah,
a
that's what I
Schedule
thought.
I
Okay,
substance.
yeah,
So,
okay, understand.
but I mean, you can see that within the next year, this whole program is just gonna explode. And it's not gonna be anything like it is right now. And you know, the interesting thing is watching the last, you know, 5-8 years or so in the program, we've seen some great expansion, a lot more, like I said, minor cannabinoids, other products, different delivery methods that we're really able to expand on for the patients. But you're going to see so many more products come because you have so many more people that are looking to really innovate now with all of these different companies and really differentiate themselves and find their own lane and what people are looking for, as opposed to just for people that are just guaranteed money no matter what and are going to make whatever they're going to make. And not to say they haven't done a pretty solid job so far. The program is one of the best in the country by far. And even with the complaint of all of the costs and everything that people have had, I was just up in Mass for NECAN last weekend, and their costs are significantly higher than ours, significantly higher, and their taxes are virtually the same. So, it's a good 15-20% higher pricing on most everything that I saw there. So, and for the very beginning of the market where products are limited, you're going to see higher pricing until more people come online. You will see just that natural order of things, and you'll see those prices and everything come down. That was all I really had. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions or anything.